Hey everyone, so today we're going to test drive some different ways of dealing with obstacles that can arise when we're doing insight meditation practice. So we know distractions happen when we meditate, and for example, bodily distractions are one category of these, and of course they're a challenge for many people until they achieve some degree of pacification of the body in their meditation practice. However, we're not going to focus on these types of distractors in this particular session. And this means, of course, if you struggle with body pains while meditating, that you may wish to opt for a comfortable seating option or a lying down arrangement for this particular session. And likewise, fatigue can be an obstacle to overcome. Yet, we also won't be touching on this here, so I'll suggest if you're tired, you may opt for trying out a more energetic position, for example, such as standing. And you can do this just by standing up and bending your knees just slightly so that they are not locked, and then with your arms at your side. Thoughts, however, are a more persistent form of distraction. And even after the pacification of the body and the heavy reduction in experienced fatigue, thoughts can still take one's insight practice off the rails. So, to deal with them, we're going to need to sample our mind state, see how it is, and then decide on a treatment based on what we happen to notice. And then we'll apply that technique before we return again to the insight practice. We will start by getting into our meditation posture and closing our eyes as usual, and just taking a few deep breaths while feeling into the relaxation on the out breath. So just really feeling in to the release as we breathe out. Now you can allow yourself to return to normal breathing. And I'd like you to start doing Vipassana on the three characteristics: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self, on the breath, on the sensations of breathing. And so, in the case of impermanence, you may notice such qualities as how the breath changes, and you can also see if you're able to notice the sensations of breathing anywhere else in your body. So just tune into the transience of the sensations of the breath. Their shifting, ephemeral qualities. how do the somatic sensations of the breath change moment by moment. Now we will move on to unsatisfactoriness. So I'd like you to notice whether there's a hope or an intention to get somewhere with this meditation. To what sense is there a seeking of progress? To what extent are you holding future expectations as you observe the sensations of the breath? And just explore how satisfied you can allow yourself to be with what's happening right now, and only right now, moment after moment. You may also notice when you realize that your mind has moved off of the breath, and notice what your emotional reaction to that is. And just gently inquire to how much an inner critic appears when you are not meditating well. We'll now move on again to the no self characteristic. So I'd like you to notice, just tune into how the in-breath arises and starts on its own. Notice how, without you needing to make yourself breathe, this happens. And notice how it ends on its own. Notice how the out-breath begins and ends on its own as well. Just observe how you don't need to be doing anything or willing anything for this to happen, for these processes to unfold. Now, I'll invite you to keep noticing these three characteristics with regard to the breath. And the only extra thing I'd like you to do is each time you find yourself in a thought where there's been a bit of mind wandering, I'd like you to just note the type of thought before going back to doing insight on the breath. So, just noticing whether it's a kind of problem-solving thought, if it's a negative thought about yourself, etc. And once you've noted the type of thought, then just go back to doing the three characteristics on the breath. Continue doing this for a number of minutes. All right, good. Now we're going to shift gears, and we're going to do this based on any trends that we may have noticed in our thoughts or otherwise. So the first possible trend is if your thoughts have tended to involve judgment of others or yourself, you can see if you can invoke just some meta by putting just a bit of a smile on your face, and see if you can locate just some warmth in the heart region. And while there are different ways to do this, one is to just recall, if you can, a beautiful moment you had with someone. And you might use this as a way of helping you along to this feeling of warmth in the heart area. So if this was your case, I'll invite you to explore that. Now, if you had more along the lines of problem-solving thoughts, then I'll invite you to take a moment to inquire to what you might fear if those problems are not solved. To explore whether you can accept those things not being resolved. So if that was your case, you can proceed with that. Now, if you're having other types of thoughts, or indeed other distractions, I'll invite you to experiment with seeing if you can let go of each thing that you happen to notice in awareness. Just one sensation after another. See if as soon as you notice it, just letting it go, releasing it. You might even do this by seeing if you can open up as much as possible as you notice sensations, and then letting them go on. So now we're just going to spend a bit of time with whichever case you fall into here. If you had no distractions whatsoever, then, or that you happen to notice, then I'll invite you to use the last of those three options. And we'll do this for a number of minutes. You may find as you do this particular hindrance reducing practice you're doing right now that it will actually be the case that you have thoughts of another type that will start trending to arise once you've been at this. So if that happens, then the move can just be the same. So for example, if you are doing the metta practice and you keep having problem-solving thoughts arising, then you can switch to inquiring to whether you can accept or you could accept fully those things not being resolved with those consequences, and so on for the other ones. So it's possible that if you work on one type of hindrance, then what you'll find is simply another one that was perhaps somewhat less strong will show up as a consequence. I'll just carry on with this part for about a minute longer. I will invite you now to, now having done your insight practice hindrance reducing move, I'll invite you to return to meditating on the sensations of breathing as before. So just go back to noticing the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the selfless nature of the sensations of the breath. in the last few minutes of this meditation, just take a moment now to just reflect a little bit on your quality of your attention. And the extent to which hindrances were present or not before and after doing the hindrance reducing practice. And when you're ready, I will invite you to open your eyes.